Hey, yo, this is Derek Judd with Cowboy Criminology. Of course, I am the Cowboy Criminologist. So, I've been getting a lot of text messages and phone calls asking me what I think about the Jennifer Crumbley case out of Michigan. And I think I surprised a lot of people with my take on this. Um, it's every time a firearm is involved, people want to make it a Second Amendment issue or a mental health issue. And in this case, um, we have we have both. Of course, Second Amendment, everybody has the right to own a firearm. But it's interesting that these two parents, Jennifer and James Crumley, had a child that was obviously suffering from signs of mental illness and decided that the correct way to handle that was to buy him a Sig Sauer handgun. Now, if you're not a gun person, Sig Sauer is not a cheap firearm. Okay, it's it's a very well made firearm. A lot of different police departments, a lot of military units carry the Sig Sauer. It's proven. It's a great weapon. Uh, if I had to carry a 9 millimeter, I would prefer to carry a Sig Sauer P226. Personal preference. But I just watched an interesting thing off of MSNBC that they posted on YouTube, and I'm going to post a link to it in the bottom. And because I got people who are stealing my thunder. I'm the Cowboy Criminologist, but it seems like everybody seems to be on the same page with me, whether they want to admit it or not. So in this interview, Dana Nessel is explaining why the conviction happened in Jennifer Crumley's case, and stating that you wouldn't have done anything different as a parent to prevent a mass shooting paints you in a very negative light. Okay, excuse me. So this whole video is based on parental responsibility. Okay, and parents being involved in their children. I have questions as why this child was allowed to have a firearm in his presence without adult supervision. That's what bothers me. Most responsible gun owners, I've had friends between 8 and 12 years old. They got their first rifle, and it was usually a pump action or lever action or single shot 22 or a 410 shotgun. Something small, but it was kind of growing up in rural America, that's kind of a rite of passage. But I don't know anybody who got a pistol, especially one like what was used in the Oxford shooting, as a present at a young age. I think I think that shows a lack of forethought, a lack of responsibility on the parents. If you want to buy your kid a handgun, okay, but do they need to have it in their presence? Do they need to have easy access to that firearm and that ammunition? Absolutely not. Okay, and especially if they're showing signs of being mentally ill, that's an issue. Okay, so the firearm needs to be kept with the parents. It needs to be kept locked up, disabled in some way, where if the child can get to it, it can't harm anybody. Okay? Being pro Second Amendment does not mean that you want people to just own firearms and have no responsibility, no accountability. And I think this case shows a complete disregard for anything. In fact, Jennifer Crumbley on the stand said, "I wouldn't have done anything different," which is a horrifying statement considering that your child took the lives of 4 other children. Okay, so Dana Nessel in this interview, she's asked point blank by the reporter, does this case open up school administrators and teachers to liability? And you could see the look on Dana Nestle's face is very telling. All right. If you've done any interview and interrogation, you could tell she's happy with the verdict, but this thought has crossed her mind. But the fact that somebody called her out on it, asking if this could potentially lead to other things, you can see it in her face. She's like, well, and I believe she says it has the potential to be extrapolated. But what you've got to remember is this is a 15-year-old who is mentally ill, whose, parents gave him a firearm and weren't supervising him. Okay. What you're saying now is that you have a responsibility for the criminal actions of children in your custody, of minors in your care, custody, and control. Law enforcement, that is huge for proving possession charges, whether it's illegal drugs, whether it's firearms, whether it's any other form of contraband. Care, custody, and control is a huge legal standard. Okay, so it is an interesting point, and it's something that I've been communicating to other people. Okay, so if the children in your custody, you're responsible for the actions that they take. Okay, let's take the emotion out of the active shooter. Okay, because I know I worked in higher education as a police officer, and the thought of somebody coming on campus and committing a mass shooting was never far from my thoughts. All right. So I was always very alert to things that I thought looked off. I paid special attention to how people walked, things like that. Okay. But let me ask you this. Okay. So the parents are now criminally responsible for involuntary manslaughter for murders committed by their son. And Dana Nessel, who is the Attorney General of Michigan, is saying, yeah, it could be extrapolated, but then she stops. The issue here is school administrators and teachers have always hidden behind this iron curtain of qualified immunity, okay, where nobody ever really thought to go after the school administrators and teachers for what amounts to the exact same thing here. So I come up with things all the time. I'm always researching stuff for cowboycriminology.com, and of course Cowboy Criminology, my YouTube channel. I'm always looking for things to put on there, and I came across an interesting case, and it's very fresh, so I don't want to. I'm not using this. I'm using this case as an example, but y'all, I want you to remember that losing a child is horrible, and it's not something parents should have to go through. Okay, so Michigan has set a precedent, and by precedent, and a precedent is set when a trial or a court proceeding makes a decision on something that has never had to be decided before. And if you look all over social media, all over the news blotter and everything, you will see that people are referring to this as a historic verdict. Okay. So you might say, well, yeah, that applies in Michigan and under, whatever court of appeals or federal district court that Michigan falls under. You're wrong, because a lawyer can now say, well, Michigan has set a precedent for this if they're arguing a case like as follows. So a young girl, 14 years old, had been being bullied at school. Okay. I don't know if the teachers or the administration knew about it. I find it hard to believe that they don't. But after a very violent assault, this young lady ended up taking her own life at 14. Now, if parents are responsible for the conduct of their children, you see where I'm going with this. If parents are responsible for the conduct of their children, are the parents of the children who bullied this young woman, are they liable for criminal charges because they failed to intercede to protect this child? Are school officials, if they know about the bullying and this young lady took her life because they failed to step in and protect her, are they now criminally liable? Well, beforehand, before this People versus Jennifer Crumbley, probably not. But now that door is open. So what do I see happening in the future? Well, first off, I see this case going all the way up to the Supreme Court. I absolutely do. Because precedent cases almost always do. Okay. Terry v. Ohio is a classic case where something happened that was unprecedented, and now it's a legal standard for police officers. Okay. Terry frisk, stop, question, and frisk, all of those things resulted from Terry v. Ohio, an unprecedented case. Okay. So I do see this going forward. So where my mind goes is, would it be difficult to prove that the parents knew anything about it? Maybe. Now, if the school district knows about it and they haven't taken steps to protect that child, according to Michigan v. Crumbley, there is a chance that they are now responsible. Okay? And law enforcement officers are always told to take away, don't wear motivational patches, moto patches on your outfits, don't put Punisher logos on your rifle magazines and stuff like that. So if that's the case for law enforcement officers, what do you think is going to happen to these schools now that Michigan has set this precedent that have all these zero tolerance policies regarding bullying? That's interesting to think about. So, y'all, please like, subscribe, share this video on your the video link on your favorite social media pages. I've got more coming for you. We're actually going to start talking about the First Amendment here at the end of the week. Y'all take care. Thank you for subscribing. We'll talk to you later.